In a raw, unfiltered clip just dropped by Ukraine's combat group K2, a stealthy kamikaze drone hunts down the colossal Russian 2S4 Tyulpan mortar. The Tulpan, a remnant of the Soviet era, remains the largest operational mortar system in the world. But size didn't matter in this case. The tiny drone, silent and deadly, ambushed its target without its crew realizing the impending doom. Unseen and unanticipated, the drone closed in on the massive Tulpan. Then, in a heartbeat, it exploded with a searing light, tearing the enormous mortar apart. It was a direct and brutal demonstration of how the face of war has changed. Traditional 20th century warfare, dominated by armored vehicles, now locks horns with innovative, cost-efficient technology. The rules of engagement are being rewritten, right on Ukraine's battle-hardened soil. The footage of the shocking results of the attack is a daunting testament to how size and armor do not mean what they used to, and that destruction can come from the most unexpected places in the evolving theaters of war of the 21st century. From the muddy trenches of the First World War emerged a technological marvel that would forever reshape the face of warfare: the tank. These steel behemoths broke the grinding deadlock of the trenches, their formidable bulk-crushing barriers and their thunderous firepower clearing a path through the chaos. With the advent of these armored vehicles, warfare evolved from a stalemate of attrition to a dynamic, moving theater of operations. In World War II, the importance of these mechanized beasts grew even stronger. Through the lightning-fast and aggressive blitzkrieg strategy, armored vehicles spearheaded offenses or battered enemy positions from afar, easily cracking front lines. Their sheer speed and capacity for surprise further escalated the transformation of warfare dynamics, emphasizing maneuver over mere force. Fast forward to modern conflicts, the warfare landscape has further evolved, with asymmetric warfare and urban combat adding new complexities. Yet the tank has proven its resilience. These mechanical titans, once designed for open fields, now roam the cityscapes, offering direct fire support and playing crucial roles in counterinsurgency operations. Whether it's their unmatched mobility, overwhelming firepower, or formidable armor, combat armored vehicles have become synonymous with achieving strategic objectives. They bear the brunt of enemy fire while simultaneously suppressing hostile positions, creating a balance between defense and offense that no other weapon system can replicate. Despite advancing warfare technology, with drones buzzing in the skies and missile systems raining down destruction from afar, alternative technologies have yet to replicate the unique blend of versatility and robustness that tanks and artillery vehicles bring to the battlefield. They remain unrivaled in securing and maintaining physical control over territory. Beyond their physical dominance, tanks also wield a significant psychological impact on the enemy, symbolizing raw military might. Even more than 100 years since the first tank rumbled onto the battlefield, its roar continues to echo, a testament to its enduring dominance in the theater of war. However, the rise of autonomous and uncrewed technology now looms large on the horizon, posing a formidable challenge to these conventional armored vehicles. These new arrivals to the field of combat, silent, swift, and deadly, threaten to disrupt the status quo and potentially displace armored vehicles from their long-held place of prominence. One armored vehicle that has stood the test of time, imposing its presence across battlefields for decades, is the formidable Soviet TS-4 Tulpan. This 240mm self-propelled mortar became a cornerstone of the Russian military due to its potent blend of power, range, and adaptability. Born in the throes of the Cold War in the 1970s, it was engineered to unleash nuclear and conventional munitions across vast expanses. Its unrivaled firepower, capable of decimating large swaths of the battlefield, made it a fearsome deterrent. The Tulpan's legendary status is rooted in its unparalleled strength among self-propelled mortars and its profound psychological effect on adversaries. Capable of deploying thermobaric and chemical warheads, the Tulpan's destructive capacity is chillingly enhanced. Its formidable size, distinctive silhouette, and thunderous report of its discharge strike fear into enemies' hearts, reinforcing its reputation. The Tulpan's battle performance over decades of service has repeatedly demonstrated its worth. It exhibited its raw power in the localized skirmishes of the Chechen Wars, pulverizing fortified positions. Its high-arching indirect firepower proved invaluable in urban and mountainous warfare, where direct line-of-sight weaponry often hampered its effectiveness. However, the Tulpan has challenges in the evolving theater of modern warfare. Its imposing size, once an asset, now renders it an easy mark for precision-guided munitions and drones. Its slow reload speed exposes a critical vulnerability in the aftermath of firing. Furthermore, the shift toward fast-paced precision strike warfare subtly erodes the Tulpan's applicability. Despite these hurdles, the TS-4 Tulpan continues to serve within the Russian army, albeit in a limited capacity. Modernization initiatives to enhance mobility, protection, and digital integration for network-centric warfare could prolong its lifespan. While the Tulpan may be closer to the sunset of its career than its peak, its remarkable power, range, and the dread it induces in its adversaries still warranted a spot in Russia's military arsenal. Combat Group K2 of the 54th Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Ground Forces has unveiled a stark illustration of the changing face of warfare in a recently released video. The once mighty TS-4 Tyulpan met its unexpected nemesis, a first-person view or FPV kamikaze drone. This drone, indistinguishable from those used by amateur filmmakers, seemed insignificant against the massive warhead strapped beneath it. Yet, in this new era of warfare, the drone's diminutive size proved to be an asset rather than a liability. Despite their modest size, these kamikaze drones have allegedly been responsible for decimating Russian tanks and entire squads of soldiers in swift, 140-km/h strikes. Unmanned aerial vehicles have become commonplace since the onset of Russia's invasion. Their development and capabilities, however, continue to surprise and indeed worry those observing the unfolding conflict. FPV drones, while relatively recent arrivals to the battlefield, have rapidly gained attention. Footage of their impact and images of ready-to-deploy swarms are causing a stir. These drones, which weigh no more than 500 grams and cost less than $1,000, were initially used by hobbyists for racing. Their cost is a fraction of the price of military-grade drones, such as the AeroVironment Switchblade used by the US, which can exceed $10,000. Yet, as the video shows, when armed, these inexpensive improvised drones can wreak havoc on tanks worth millions of dollars. In the case of the Tulpan, priced initially at 210,000 Soviet rubles, roughly 1.7 million in today's dollars, its end came at the hands of a $2,000 drone. The agile, low-cost FPV drones employed by the Ukrainians pose a significant challenge to the Russian military, whose aging Soviet-era weaponry is ill-equipped to counter their agility, speed, and expendability. In the video, the Tulpan, after being struck, catches fire. Quote, "The Tulpan burned for a long time and then exploded due to detonation," the military group explained. The footage shows the large armored vehicle first engulfed in flames, then torn apart by the ensuing explosion, a devastating outcome from such a tiny adversary. As these modern yet improvised technologies continue to populate the Ukrainian battlefields, it remains to be seen if they will cripple the Russian armored divisions, or if the Russians will devise a counter-strategy to this emerging threat for their venerable mechanized warriors. While they do, the mighty Tulpan and the heavy machinery of war will remain under the threat of an unassuming little drone. The footage, captured directly from a drone on the front lines of Ukraine, shows a powerful Russian T-90M main battle tank engaging unidentified targets. Despite being heavily armored with a mix of steel and composite armor, the small Ukrainian drone puts it out of commission with its small arsenal of bombs. Exploiting its stealth factor to the maximum, the drone positioned itself and accurately drops 3 bombs on the tank, hoping to destroy it with its arsenal. However, once the explosions and the smoke dissipate, the imposing T-90M tank remains intact. Determined not to let it escape unscathed, the drone crew prepares for a second flight and an engagement that could last for the entire day. Russian forces invaded Ukraine in February 2022 and pushed back the overwhelmed and underprepared Ukrainian military. Nevertheless, with Western military support, the Ukrainian people rallied and steadily made territorial gains to even the odds against its former Soviet Union ally. Over a year after continuous and harsh fighting, Ukraine is finally preparing a counteroffensive to push back the invading Russian forces. Despite now being armed with Western tanks, armored vehicles, artillery systems, small arms, and even drones, some Western allies have advised not to pressure Ukraine into a counteroffensive until they are ready. General John Allen, former head of the U.S. forces in Afghanistan, told the National, quote, "Leave them alone. Let them do this when they're ready. We need to be very careful about assuming that as a result of this counteroffensive, this will be the great Napoleonic decisive blow, and the Russians are going to collapse." General Allen remarked that Russia has multiple lines of anti-tank ditches, barbed wire, dragon's teeth, and fortified positions with interlocking fire reminiscent of World War I trenches. Allen concluded, quote, "The Russians are going to take a terrible beating, frankly, but getting through those obstacle belts, that's a hard fight." Since the start of the conflict, Ukraine has found a cunning way to inflict terror from the skies using drones. Ukraine has dropped thousands of explosives against Russian forces across the contested regions, from small, improvised, homemade devices to military-grade drones. The Ukrainian military has been teaching its troops how to operate drones for various purposes, such as explosives delivery, reconnaissance, and night operations, to assist ground troops during incursions into enemy territory. In May 2022, Ukraine launched an online fundraising platform called United24 to raise millions of dollars to support demining and drone manufacturing. With the donations, which amounted to more than $330 million, Ukraine has raised an army of drones that has been constantly engaging Russian troops. Official footage from the Ukrainian military published on social media shows drones delivering grenades and other explosives directly over Russian soldiers fighting in trenches and improvised fortifications. Other clips show drones harassing convoys and armored vehicles, trying to penetrate towns and combat zones. The military has even obtained the Shahed Hunter system that can effectively counter the Iranian-made explosive drones Russia has been employing for the past months. The Shahed 136 used by Russia is a long-range loitering ammunition that flies like a conventional drone and packs explosives that can be aimed and flown directly to a target and detonate like a missile. To counter this threat and more, Ukraine has invested in a sizable fleet of UAVs. According to data from United24, Ukraine has purchased more than 3,900 drones and UAVs, or unmanned aerial vehicles, and over 20 naval drones. Ukraine's drone arsenal is diverse and consists of different drone models in all shapes and sizes, each with its unique payload capacity. Mikhailo Fedorov, Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister for Innovations, Development of Education, Science and Technologies, has referred to these foreign contributions as dronations. More than $100 million have also been raised by celebrities such as Mark Hamill. The money has been used to train teams of navigators and spotters to use drones properly. Footage from media outlets gives a glimpse of the training of recruits in secluded locations on the outskirts of Kyiv. In an interview with the BBC, instructor Slava highlighted the importance of drones, saying, quote, "Drones are our eyes. We can see the occupier very well from the top, so we can adjust artillery and find and neutralize the enemy." One of the most common drones employed on the front line is the DJI Mavic, which cost around $2,000. However, it's the Turkish Bayraktar TB2 drone that has brought true precision airstrike capabilities to Ukraine. The TB2 is a gray, flat UAV with a rear propeller and angled wings, carrying laser-guided bombs to rain havoc on any target. The Bayraktar rose to fame after Valery Zaluzhny, Ukraine's Armed Forces Commander-in-Chief, uploaded a grainy clip to social media showing a Russian military convoy near Kherson. The footage captures the moment a Bayraktar targets one of the vehicles in the middle of the convoy and blows it up with a single hit. Zaluzhny is then heard shouting, quote, "Behold the work of our life-giving Bayraktar. Welcome to hell." Ukraine has also published videos of troops showing modified commercially available drones dropping grenades and other improvised explosive devices into Russian positions on the front lines. Both sides' heavy use of drones has pushed them to deploy electronic defense systems to shoot them down before attacking targets. These systems are cheaper than employing surface-to-air missiles. After sustaining heavy casualties with Ukraine's army of drones, Russia has begun to equip platoons with directional jammers and arrays to hijack UAVs. Anti-drone rifles and non-portable jammers, tactically placed near a front line, have become the primary measure of defense against drones. Thus, Ukrainian drones have become increasingly ineffective as Russia solidifies its air defenses and electronic warfare systems. The Russian Ministry of Defense published footage in June 2022 of a Krasuka S-4 electronic warfare system taking down a Ukrainian drone. Ukraine has stated it has been losing over 10,000 drones a month, although analysts speculate the figure has been elevated to secure more Western aid. Although the Ukrainians have begun to limit their use of drones, this has not prevented them from achieving impressive feats, such as destroying some of Russia's most formidable tanks. In late May 2023, following the fall of Bakhmut, a Ukrainian drone reconnaissance unit spotted one of Russia's most powerful and deadly tanks in an undisclosed location. The drone closes in with its thermal vision activated to detect the target. It zooms in and seconds later identifies it as a T-90M breakthrough main battle tank. The T-90, completely unaware of the drone's presence, is in a ditch, semi-covered, firing at unidentified targets. According to Russian sources and US intel, 100 of them have been produced, and the cost of each one is valued at $4.5 million. It's armed with a 125mm 2A46 smoothbore main gun, equipped with a 1A45T fire control system, and protected by a steel and composite armor blend. The T-90M is currently the most powerful Russian tank that has joined the fray in Ukraine, and from all those that have been deployed, Ukraine claims that over 20 of them have been lost. After identifying the objective, the drone proceeds to destroy it, initiating a dramatic hunt that lasts half a day. The footage shows how during its first flight, the drone lets go of 3 bombs that, despite hitting the target, cause little damage to the tank. The drone crew spends all its ammunition and withdraws for a second round. It is seen traversing the front line to load up new bombs. Back at the target, the drone closes in again and drops a bomb that lands next to the T-90. Following the explosion, the drone drops the other 3 bombs in quick succession, hitting the T-90 directly. The last round causes the tank's engine compartment to catch fire. The fire quickly extends to the tank's turret and destroys the vehicle completely. The drone then turns off the thermal camera, and the burning tank is seen in the middle of the pitch-black darkness. Since the start of the war in Ukraine in February 2022, the Russian Air Force has effectively used its airbases close to the border to bomb the eastern country and deliver troops, supplies, and vehicles to the front lines. Nonetheless, during its latest summer counteroffensive, Ukraine sought to undermine the Russian war machine by attacking Russian bases from within Russia with the support of covert forces. Ukraine did this swiftly and with violence, beginning in August 2023, with multiple attacks across different enemy bases. Footage taken from drones has shown the devastation left behind by Ukraine at the Kresty Airbase in Pskov, where at least 4 enemy Il-76 Candid transport aircraft were destroyed. Additional clips from the Ukrainian military show the drones specifically targeting the midpoint section of the Candids to render them completely inoperable. From large plumes of fire and clouds of smoke, the footage has given the world a taste of Ukraine's effort to cripple Russia's war logistics. The Il-76 is a medium-range military transport aircraft currently employed by the Russian Air Force. It bears the NATO codename Candid. The cargo transport, developed by the Ilyushin Aviation Complex Joint Stock Company in Moscow, forms the backbone of Russia's military aviation lift. The Candid performs almost the same roles as its United States Air Force counterpart, the C-17 Globemaster III, developed by McDonnell Douglas and Boeing. Since its introduction in 1974, more than 900 Ilyushin Il-76s have been produced by Ilyushin, Tashkent Aviation Production Association, and Aviastar, serving in multiple militaries worldwide. The Russian Air Force currently employs over 100 Candids that have become crucial for delivering troops, weapons, and supplies to the front lines of the ongoing war in Ukraine. The Candid is operated by a crew of 7 and has a length of 46 meters, a height of 14 meters, and a wingspan of 50 meters. The medium transport has a load-carrying capacity of 47 tons and a maximum takeoff weight of 170 tons. Candid's power plant comprises 4 D30KP turbofans that allow it to achieve a top speed of over 760 to 780 kilometers per hour and a flight range of 3,000 to 6,000 kilometers per hour, depending on the payload. The aircraft's payload can comprise fully armed paratroopers, ammunition, medium-sized armored vehicles, and disaster relief cargo. Candidates' countermeasures include flares, the SPO-10 Berioza or S3M Sirena radar warning receivers on the side of the nose, and SPS-5 Fossil 1I1 electronic noise jammers. Since the start of the war, Ukrainian forces have struggled to shoot down these cargo aircraft, but the military has adapted and figured out a way to take them down effectively, attacking them while on the ground and striking their bases deep within Russian-controlled territory. On August 19, 2023, Ukraine started launching devastating drone strikes against air bases deep inside Russian territory. Satellite imagery detailing the Ukrainian drone attack on Salty 2 airbase near St. Petersburg surfaced online. The pictures obtained from Planet Labs showed the aftermath. The attack resulted in the destruction and damage of several Russian aircraft, including a powerful Tupolev Tu-22M3 strategic bomber. Previously released images showed that Salty 2 appeared to be the home base of several Tu-22M3 backfire bombers since early August. The base, some 100 miles from the Estonian border, was engulfed in flames, with vivid pictures detailing the destruction of at least one bomber and significant damage to the base's installations. The Russian Defense Ministry said the attacks were carried out by a copter-style uncrewed aerial vehicle, or UAV. Andriy Yusov, spokesman for the Ukrainian Defense Intelligence Directorate, later confirmed people from inside Russia conducted the attack under orders of the Ukrainian military. Surveillance drones scanned the airbase days after the attack and confirmed the entire fleet of Russian bombers had been evacuated from the area. Staying true to Yusov's words, more Russian airbases were targeted days later, again attacked from within Russian territory. This time, the operators behind enemy lines targeted Kresty Air Base, home to the Russian Air Force's 334th Military Transport Aviation Regiment, operating the candid cargo transport aircraft since the late 1970s. Based on previous footage and pictures, the Ukrainian military believed the base operated with around 20 candidates. With these details behind the operations table, the armed forces approved a swift strike against the base on August 30th, 2023. Kresty Air Base in Pskov Oblast was attacked by a swarm of drones at midnight on August 30th. This was confirmed by Mikhail Vedernikov, regional governor of Pskov Oblast. Footage immediately emerged on the web, showing large fires engulfing the base and the thunderous sounds of several explosions. Vedernikov stated, quote, "The Defense Ministry is repelling a drone attack on Pskov's airport." The Ukrainian drone targeted the base's fuel depot and several candidates exposed on the runway. According to the Russian TASS agency, at least 4 were damaged beyond repair. Post-attack images from Planet Labs showed the remains of 2 destroyed candidates, as well as others that were partially damaged from the midpoint section of the fuselage, where the wings are attached. These damaged aircraft were later towed away by Russian personnel a day later. Analysts believe Ukrainian drones deliberately targeted the midpoint section to cause maximum damage to the jet's fuel tanks and the wing spar. On August 31st, Ukraine released captures from an infrared camera video feed from some of the attacking drones. The images showed that the strikes were targeted directly at the midpoint section of the candidates. Based on the pictures provided, analysts concluded the damage was done by bomblets dropped by drones. The success of this attack proved that Russia's army may be spread too thin to protect its borders against counter-drone operations, or is simply incapable of defending its airbases from attacks from within. Shortly after the damage assessment provoked by the massive drone attack carried out by the Ukrainian military, the Russian Foreign Ministry announced the attack would not go unanswered. The Russian military also claimed that these treacherous attacks, conducted so deep inside Russian territory, could only have been possible due to classified intelligence shared by the West or NATO partners, especially the United States. Although the drone attacks against Russia's frontiers have dramatically escalated since the latest Ukrainian summer counteroffensive, none has yielded such devastating results as the strike against Kresty Air Base on August 30th. The Bryansk and Oryol regions, located in the outskirts of Moscow, as well as the annexed Crimean city of Sevastopol, were also targeted by the Ukrainian drones during the same operation. Russia countered with an overnight missile barrage against Kyiv, resulting in several buildings damaged and several civilians injured by falling debris. More than 550 days after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it's safe to assume that drone attacks would become more frequent on both sides, claiming more lives and damaging more infrastructure. According to the BBC, more than 190 suspected drone attacks have been conducted in Russia and Crimea since the start of 2023. Most attacks have been concentrated in the regions of Bryansk, Belgorod, and Kursk, close to the borders with Ukraine. With drones getting cheaper by the day, these types of attacks will escalate as the months pass. This will likely favor Ukraine in the long run if the country continues the strategy he's described as, quote, starve, stretch, and strike. The Saltsy-2 airbase, part of the Russian aerospace forces, should supposedly be safe, situated nearly 400 miles beyond the Russian border with Ukraine. Originally a relic from Soviet times, the base is now home to the 40th Composite Aviation Regiment, which operates the Tu-22M3 bomber. Yet, in August 2023, headlines broke with news of a drone attack on the base, a location seemingly far away from the Ukrainian battlefront, where Russia likely believed its aircraft would be safe. The Defense Ministry immediately stated that the damage was minimal. Photographic evidence, however, painted a different story, one that Russia would have preferred to keep under wraps. The flaming hulk of a prized Russian supersonic bomber was seen in flames. Historical satellite imagery from before and after the incident further revealed the true extent of the damage. Given that the base is located well beyond the conventional reach of drones, questions have arisen. Could the mysterious assailant have come from closer quarters, perhaps even from within Russia's own ranks? The Tupolev Tu-22M is a renowned Russian swing-wing supersonic bomber, originally developed by the eponymous design bureau in the 1960s, that's still being used today in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. During the peak of the Cold War, the Tu-22M, codenamed Backfire by NATO, played a pivotal role as the Soviet Air Force's supersonic strategic bomber. It was renowned for its versatility in carrying various weapons and conducting long-range missions deep into enemy territories. Between 1969 and 1993, more than 500 Tu-22Ms were manufactured. Decades later, in the early 2020s, Russia was estimated to have approximately 60 Tu-22M3 aircraft stationed across 3 operational bases. The Tu-22M3, an upgraded iteration of the original model, came with numerous enhancements and modifications compared to its Soviet-era predecessors. These improvements encompass strengthened materials, modernized avionics, radar navigation, and communication systems. This contemporary variant of the Backfire, equipped with enhanced engines, can attain speeds of Mach 2, equivalent to around 1,430 miles per hour. Its extended weapon capacity allows it to carry up to 52,000 pounds of armaments, including both unguided bombs and precision-guided missiles. In present-day Russia, this aircraft has seen action in various regions, including Syria, Chechnya, and Georgia. Most recently, during Russia's incursion into Ukraine in spring 2022, the older Tu-22Ms also posed a formidable challenge to Ukrainian forces. During the initial stages of the conflict, on April 15, 2022, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported the first use of Tu-22M3 bombers by Russia to target the city of Mariupol. Since then, this aircraft model has been employed to launch supersonic Kh-22 missiles and newer Kh-32 variants, potent heavy anti-ship missiles, against Ukrainian targets. A more recent incident occurred in January 2023, involving a Tu-22M launched missile striking a residential block in Dnipro. According to investigators, Russia's 52nd Guards Bomber Aviation Regiment, based at the Saltsy-2 airbase in Novgorod Oblast, played a significant role in these operations. This airbase would soon become the focal point of another intriguing incident, this time captured on camera. On Saturday, August 19, 2023, social media posts by locals suggested a large fire was burning at Saltsy-2. The base is situated approximately 115 miles south of St. Petersburg, 315 miles west of Moscow, and 415 miles north of the Ukrainian border. Photographs of thick black smoke emanating from the base further substantiated the reports. However, initially, it remained unclear what exactly was ablaze. Rumors of a drone strike began to spread, a shocking event given the base's distance from the front lines. In an unusual acknowledgement of damage inflicted on a military target, Russia confirmed the attack. In an official statement, Moscow's defense ministry asserted that Ukraine had employed a quadcopter aerial drone to target the military airfield in Novgorod, successfully damaging an aircraft. According to the official report, the UAV was detected by the airfield's observation post and subsequently engaged with small arms fire. As a consequence of this attack, a fire erupted in the airfield's parking area, but was rapidly extinguished by the firefighting teams. Nonetheless, this represented only a fragment of the entire narrative, a fragment selectively made public by Russia. In the aftermath of the attack, striking images surfaced on social media depicting a backfire aircraft engulfed in flames. These images initially appeared on Telegram and have subsequently circulated on other social media platforms, revealing the Tu-22M3 aircraft consumed by fire at the airbase, almost completely destroyed. The footage underwent analysis and was verified by the BBC as credible by comparing visual details, such as the aircraft's appearance and the layout of bays, with satellite images of the airbase. Additionally, the weather conditions at the time of the incident match those depicted in the images. Satellite imagery also provides insight into the aftermath of the August 19th Ukrainian drone attack on the Soltsy 2 airbase. The images, captured 2 days after the incident, portray the charred remnants of a backfire aircraft within a revetment, where these aircraft had been parked since at least August 16th, the last date on which high-resolution images of the base were obtained. Beyond illustrating the damage to the aircraft, the satellite images indicate that Russia has since evacuated all other backfires that were previously stationed at Soltsy 2. However, they have all been removed now, a notable achievement given that aircraft are often disabled on the ground and cannot be immediately deployed, particularly in the case of large military aircraft. Some reports suggest that Russia relocated its Tu-22M3 strategic supersonic bombers from Novgorod to a base in the Arctic Kola Peninsula. Following the release of these photos, the UK Ministry of Defence stated in an intelligence briefing that the attack on the Soltsy 2 airbase most likely resulted in the destruction of at least one Tu-22M3 aircraft. Within the same document, UK intelligence analysts concluded that the type of drone used, in conjunction with the location, suggests that the attack probably originated from hostile units within Russia itself. Indeed, a couple of days after the incident, Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Directorate, or GUR, officially claimed responsibility for the drone attack. In an interview with the press, GUR spokesman Andriy Yusov stated that they'd recruited individuals to carry out attacks on the Soltsy 2 and Shaikovka airbases from within the country. He stated, quote, "People recruited by the GUR came from central Russia, completed their tasks, and then returned to their original locations. GUR continues its operations in Russia, including in border regions, the Deep Rear, and Moscow." In the same statement, Yusov also confirmed that GUR was behind another drone attack that occurred the same morning. Located in Russia's Kaluga region, the Shaikovka airbase is approximately 130 miles north of the Ukrainian border. According to intelligence reports, another military aircraft was damaged in this attack. While Russian media also reported the attack, Russian officials denied that any damage had occurred. This marks the second Ukrainian drone attack on Shaikovka in just under a year, as it was previously targeted in October 2022. Although the destruction of a single aircraft will have only a limited impact on Moscow's current bomber fleet, this operation underscores Kyiv's increasing ability to strike deep within Russian territory. The incident also raises questions about Russia's capability to defend its aircraft, even on its home turf. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, a few attacks have occurred inside Russia. The charred remains of the Tu-22M3 from the August 2023 attack, as seen in satellite images, narrate a story of escalating attacks within Russian territory. These incidents at Russian military installations appear to align with the promise made by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky last month that such strikes will persist. While Ukraine has implied or directly claimed responsibility for some of these attacks, certain Russian separatists opposing President Vladimir Putin have taken credit for others.